Okay, the holidays are here. Achieving gift greatness when you give the gift of a perfectly aged, tender and delicious Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks is the America's original butcher since 1917 and a holiday gift that is guaranteed to be loved. The steak experts at Omaha Steaks have put together a special curated gift packages to help take the guesswork out of gifting and make you a holiday hero. Go to omahasteaks.com and use the code IDK at checkout to get $30 off your order. Send an assortment of mouth-watering favourites guaranteed to impress, like the legendary Butcher's Cut Filet Mignon, air-chilled boneless chicken, ultra-juicy burgers, and even easy-to-prepare comfort meals that are ready in a flash. Omaha is ready to ship to your order right away. So shop early and beat the shopping rush. Go to omahasteaks.com and use the promo code IDK at checkout. Omaha Steaks is the gift from the heart, a gift that will be remembered with every unforgettable bite. Order with your complete confidence today, knowing that you're ordering the very best. Visit omahasteaks.com and use the promo code IDK at checkout and get the extra $30 off your order. Minimum order may be required. Tennis, badminton, croquet. They're all pretty stupid, really. Anything that involves a shuttlecock can fuck right off. All right, here we are on the I Don't Know About That podcast. I'm just in the intros just saying how I feel. We in Asia right now?
Yeah.
Oh, we're in Asia. Pretty exciting to be in Asia. Australia's just gotten through the group stage. How good were we against England in the next game, or Argentina, whoever we played?
Yeah.
So good. So good. America got through as well. Yay, America. Goals. We did very good, and the Welsh have been knocked out. Oh, not a lovely time. In saying that, I'll be performing in Cardiff. Come and see me. I got gigs all over Asia, all over Europe, all over Great Britain, who isn't a part of Europe anymore. Well, they are geographically, but
part of the
you voted out. You're getting the same passport line that I have to fucking get into at the airport. And Forrest, you got any gigs coming up you want to tell people about? We had to record this intro again because Forrest is about to sit in the seat over there. All of a sudden he'll go swish, swish, like that. But Jack deleted the one. I said I wouldn't mention it, but then I realised that Forrest was in the room. So
yeah, we're going to have to.
Yeah, so we're going to have to because Forrest is going to go swish, swish.
Over to where Jack is with a different outfit on.
Yeah. So we're doing a different intro because Forrest
just do a 1, 2, 3 snap,
Forrest
and then Forrest is there.
I do have some gigs. I'll be with you in Asia, and I'll be with you in part of the Europe tour. But I also will be at the Comedy Cellar in Las Vegas, January 9th through 15th.
Hey.
So come check that out. And I have some other dates too. But if you can go to forestshaw.net, they're all on there, and then listen to the Merman podcast as well. Yeah.
Yep. And as a reminder, we will be off the air after next week until February. So check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/IDCat, and follow us on Instagram at IDCat Podcast.
All right, let's start this podcast. This show is sponsored by Better Health. Look, Christmas is coming. A lot of people suffer from depression. A lot of people have to get through the holidays, me being one of those people. Unfortunately, life does not come with a user's manual, so when it's not working for you, it's normal to feel a bit stuck. Navigating any of life's challenges can make you feel unsure, whether it's career change, a new relationship, or becoming a parent. Therapists are trained to help you figure out the cause of challenging emotions and learn productive coping skills, which makes therapy the closest thing to a guided tour of the complex engine called you. BetterHelp has connected over 3 million people with licensed therapists. It's convenient and accessible anywhere, 100% online. As I said, look, I get a bit stuck in the holidays and start to question myself. And, parenting's not easy for me either. I've got a young baby at home and the struggles that go along with that. And I'm not afraid to say that often I need help. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists available 100% of the time. Plus, it's affordable. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist. If things aren't clicking, you can switch with a new therapist anytime. It couldn't be simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no needless searching for the right therapist. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/IDK. That's betterhelp.com/IDK. Shopify makes it simple to sell to anyone from anywhere. Whether your thing is vintage teas or recipes for ghee, start selling with Shopify and join the platform simplifying commerce for millions of your favorite businesses worldwide. With Shopify, you'll create an online store in your vibe, discover new customers, and grow following that keeps them coming back. Shopify has all the sale channels sorted so your business keeps growing, and an in-person POS system to an all-in-one e-commerce platform, even across social media platforms like TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. And thanks to the 24/7 support and free libraries full of educational content, Shopify's got you every step of the way. It's how every minute new sellers around the world make their first sale with Shopify, and you will too. Shopify makes selling simple so you can put yourself and your ideas out there. Whether your thing is making ebooks or earrings, Shopify makes your success possible. When you're ready to launch your thing into Shopify, launch it into the spotlight with the e-commerce platform backing millions of businesses down the street and around the globe. Shopify. Go to Shopify for free and start selling anywhere. This is possibility powered by Shopify. Sign up for a free trial at shopify.com/IDK, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/IDK and start selling online today. That's shopify.com/IDK. It's never too early to start playing holiday music, and it's never too early to start thinking about gifts, whether it's for a friend or friends of your pants. You can make this season jolly with Manscaped. Do your little drummer boy a favor and use the Lawnmower 4.0 and avoid another silent night in the bedroom. Then add the Manscaped's top-of-the-line shower products, and you have people thinking, all I want for Christmas is you. Santa cares about his sack, and so should you. Look nice when you get naughty and get free shipping and 20% off by going to manscaped.com/IDK. Don't forget to put /IDK. It's important to find a grooming routine that works for you. Manscaped makes it easy because they have everything you need to spruce up your package. The Manscaped's Platinum Package 4.0 is the one-stop shop for the man who deserves it all. It has everything needed to deck your halls from your face to your balls just in time for mistletoe season. The Lawnmower 4.0 body trimmer and the Weed Whacker nose and ear trimmer feature proprietary advanced skin-safe technology to protect your delicate presence. Plus, both are waterproof, so there's no issue clearing the snow from your driveway. There's also a 4000K LED light so you can light the way like bloody Rudolph did. Now that you've groomed your candy cane, it's time to make sure you don't smell like a reindeer with the Platinum Package shower products. All the Manscaped shower gel is sulfate-free, vegan, and made for your skin. Makes it feel hydrated and smelling fresh. The Platinum Package 4.0 sitting under the tree is guaranteed to put anyone in the holiday spirit. Get 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com/IDK. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Manscaped, get your jingle balls ready for holidays.
Okay, please welcome our guest, Dr. Ian Milligan.
Dr. Ian Milligan. Now it's time to play.
Yes, no.
Yes,
no.
maybe.
Yes,
Who knows?
Judging a book by its cover.
We always tell our guests there's going to be a moment of silence, but there's not that anymore. You always sing along.
I always give them a bit of noise. Okay, so Dr. Ian Milligan. Doctor, I believe you're a red book enthusiast. You have a lot of read books. Okay, so first of all, does it involve medicine?
No.
Oh. Are you a doctor of medicine?
Nope.
Oh, you're one of these guys that when they go, is there a doctor on the plane? And you come up and go, well, Plato once said. Are you a doctor of theology?
Nope.
Oh God, we'll have to find out what he's a doctor of then. Are you a doctor?
Well, I'll tell you right now. He's a professor of history.
Okay, so is this about history?
Yes.
Is it about a war? I love always about a war.
No wars.
It's something you don't like.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you can. I'm sorry, Ian. Go ahead.
Maybe a war, but not really a war.
Something I don't like.
I sometimes you like it, but other times you really don't.
Have we done women before? I'm joking, ladies. I'm joking. I like all of you.
You get frustrated with us.
But stop pushing this joke first. I get frustrated with it. Is it something to do with recent history?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not like cavemen and spears and shit.
No.
Do you get frustrated with cavemen a lot?
I do. I feel like they don't get enough credit. Is it something to do with human rights?
Not really.
I thought you would like that.
Is it food based?
Not really.
You use this every day, but you have said that
My wife's good nature.
yeah, but you have said you would do without this in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, okay. I use it every day, but the internet.
That's correct.
Oh yeah, bloody internet, pain in the neck, pain in the neck. The world was better without it.
But you like Call of Duty.
I like college, but I could go back to when we just played the games online, or
But,
you played.
but like we just promoted your world tour.
Look, I am arguably a product of the internet, but I find the internet to be a nasty place for the most part.
Okay.
A mean-spirited place. I don't think it's made us better as a human. Of banking, great.
We're going to talk about the history of the internet though today. So we're not going to say whether it's good or bad. We're just going to talk about the history.
Right.
So
You might have an opinion though.
Dr. Ian Milligan is a professor of history at the University of Waterloo, where he has taught courses on the history of the internet and researches how historians will use the internet and the web as historical sources. He is the author of the 2019 book, History in the Age of Abundance, How the Web is Transforming Historical Research, and occasionally tweets at Ian Milligan1. You can learn more about him at ianmilligan.ca. Heard you singing Waterloo.
Yeah, I like this
Yeah,
on Waterloo.
So do you
Do
want
they ever sing that at the university? Do you ever hear kids in the hallway, Waterloo?
Oh, it's banned. It's banned.
Is it?
Yeah. No. That's not what we're about.
What, you don't like ABBA? What type of university is this? What type of educational place is this where you ban ABBA? What are you, the university from Footloose?
Can you talk a little bit just about how you got to this point about the history of the internet? And there you go.
Yeah, so I'm a historian. I started out doing, normal historical research, the 1950s, the 1960s. And then my way into it was realizing that, one day, everything that we're producing right now, our tweets, our social media posts, our websites, our online news, misinformation, information, etc., all of that in 20, 30, 40 years are going to be what historians need to use to understand today. So my first part into this was really thinking about what's a historian in the future going to make sense of the world around us. And then, of course, you go down that road and you say, wow, I should really learn about the history of the internet and think about the long history of, how it's all come together to this moment we're at today.
Is there an argument that the history will be better because they'll have more information, or will there be some fake news that will slip through as fact? And also, this is a 3-part question. Also, has that happened without the internet? Like, all this stuff, fucking Washington had wooden teeth and shit like that. You know what I mean? There was a lot of stuff that's gotten through that's mythology. Paul Revere riding around, and they probably went past one house. The British are coming. You didn't do it all day.
Day done.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should come do my guest lectures, because that's a point I often try to make, that the internet seems new, but many of the things that we're facing with the internet are obviously things that we've faced a long time before. I mean, I think history will be better. I say that cautiously. And I think it's going to be better because we have so many more voices. If I'm a historian, I'm studying the 50s and 60s, our source base is really, really limited. Now I could use, social media posts and Twitter. We've got posts from children. We've got posts from people living through events. We've got all these voices. Now, the flip side is, the question of misinformation. And I think you're right. We've always had misinformation. There's always been things in archives we need to critically assess and think about. And to me, that's why, we should hire more historians, because historians are really good at thinking about context. We can look at that tweet, we can look at that document in an archive, we can look at that library book, and we can connect it to everything around it to make an informed judgment of, is this a credible account of what we were looking at, or is this misinformation, or is this just nonsense?
Well, I believe that the history that I learnt in school, which was mostly Australian history, and the Australian history that I learnt, they would be learning substantially different history now. We were learning basically from when, the white guys came into the harbour and, settled the country. And that's sort of where we learnt from. People like Captain Cook were, in my history books, were revered as heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't know if they are anymore, or whether, I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, or there's some middle ground or whatever. I don't want to get into that debate, but we were definitely learning a different thing. And then you've got, do you believe in the idea that history is written by the victors? So if World War II was won, would they be like, and then Hitler did this awesome thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they won, would have the bad history been erased? Is that how it happens?
It does. I mean, war is really bad for history because it wipes out all sorts of records, and as you say, there's selectivity. I think the way I often try to think about it is that there's the past, and the past happened. We can't go back. We don't have time machines. That's set in stone. We can't change that. But we can't go to the past. We don't have a holodeck. We don't have any magic way to see what happens. We can only view history. And history's the scattered documents, some memories, some stories, all of these things, a little bit here and there that's left behind that we interpret through the lens of today. So, Australia, Canada, where I am, similarly, 20 years ago, the history that we would have taught was, rah, rah, great people came, set up this country. And then we're also simultaneously, now we're really reassessing, what was the role of colonialism? What was the role of our First Nations people? And the past didn't change, but the way that we think about it and the way that we interpret it has.
Right.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask Jim some questions about the history of the internet. And then when he's done answering those, you're going to grade him on his accuracy, 0 through 10. 10's the best. Kelly's going to grade him on confidence. I'm going to grade him on et cetera. And we will add those scores together. And I did not make categories. All right. 21 through 30, your Gmail. 11 through 20, Hotmail. 0 through 10, AOL. There you go. What is the internet and how does it work, Jim?
What is the internet? Okay, the internet is a way of sharing information or anything, or talking to each other, or it's a way of connecting people through a computer, whether it be in your pocket or anything, to swap and converse, and the swapping of ideas or anything like that. And how does it work?
Yeah.
Like that. That's its inner monologue.
Yeah.
That's when it's working. It wants to do that noise. But it's through optic fibers and stuff, and Wi-Fi, and
I don't know either, and I use it.
It's like the Force. So. It surrounds us. It binds us. It's all living things.
We did an episode on Star Wars yesterday, so there you go. Who invented it? And when?
Well, I have a friend, a Scottish bloke, who's a bit of a bullshitter, and he reckons his son invented it. But I he doesn't. You know the guy. I'm not going to put you. You know the guy, right?
Yeah.
I've talked to him, but he reckons his son invented it. So there's a guy in Glasgow who invented it, and then it was so it was invented originally, I believe, by the military. And then the guy who invented it wanted to give it out to the world for free. It was just like, and we can all have this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then people were like, no.
You know when about?
I believe its infancy was invented in the early 90s.
Okay. Why didn't the Soviet Union invent the internet?
Because they're too busy fucking pumping Drago with steroids. Too busy cheating at the boxing against Rocky.
Yeah, they were busy with that.
Yeah.
What is the What is the ARPANET system? ARPA.
Don't know.
Don't know. ARPANET, I think I'm saying.
I'm quite proud.
ARPANET.
I'm quite proud
ARPANET?
of my lack of knowledge on this one, to be honest with you.
Okay. Why was the Advanced Research Project System, ARPA, formed in 1958?
Okay, so that's when the internet was in its infancy.
Yeah, this is your go-to thing on this podcast. You always redo your questions.
It would have been some way of
Why was it formed though?
for the military?
Military?
Yeah, military to pass
Okay.
information on.
Okay, that was the original.
Yeah.
Okay. What is a URL and what does URL stand for?
Don't know.
You've heard of it though, right?
I know. It's a URL.
You don't know what it stands for? URL?
Ultra ray lights.
Got it. How does the World Wide Web differ from the internet?
It doesn't. That's one thing we got to get rid of, putting www in front of things. That was pointless.
Some places don't have it.
Yeah, but as soon as the first person to do it was like, and then you put World Wide Web, like, get the fuck out of here. Just put the fucking thing in. That's stupid. I hope they don't look upon that person in history kindly.
Well, here's the next question. What is the web and how does it work?
It's the internet,
Okay.
and it's the world. It's worldwide,
Yeah.
and you can send emails and shit on it through the sky.
Okay. Who invented the World Wide Web?
Guy in Scotland, son.
Same guy. Same guy.
Yeah, same guy.
What is the name of the first web browser? So you know with the browsers, you have like Safari. Now,
Yeah.
What was the name of the first web browser?
First web browser wouldn't have been Ask Jeeves. He would have been like number 5.
Yeah. That's a search engine, I think. But this is like
Would-
we have Safari on your iPhone.
Yeah,
This is
Safari. I'll say Explorer.
Explorer. Okay. When was the first image uploaded to the web, and what was it of?
The first image that was put up on the web was a photo of the guy who invented the Enigma machine. The gay fella.
The from the movie.
Yeah. His name's
Yeah, I know what his name is now.
But you know,
Starts with a T.
yeah,
That guy.
Turing.
I don't know if you're right.
Alan Turing, a picture of Alan Turing.
That's the first image.
Yeah,
Are you right?
I believe so.
Oh, I don't know.
And when
I
was
know.
that?
Do you know when that was?
I have no idea.
The first page on the World Wide Web was released in 1991. What was its topic?
It was mnms.com. It was just about M&Ms.
Wow.
Still around today.
What was the first ever item sold on eBay?
eBay was invented because a woman, as with everything, people always have this one idea. They're like, I could do this. And then they're like, what? I could do this for everything. Like Amazon was just books. And then he's like, I could sell more than books. The reason that eBay was invented was there was a lady who collected Pez dispensers, and she wanted an online forum where people could swap and sell their Pez dispensers. I went to the Pez Museum.
With me.
Yeah. So
Where was
I
that?
fucking know.
Connecticut, I think. It's like
Connecticut.
We were driving in between casino gigs, and we were on our way to a casino in Connecticut. I think it's somewhere in Connecticut or upstate New York.
Here's a little thing you might not know about me. If we're driving somewhere to the gigs and someone says there's the biggest blah, 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 we're taking a decoy.
Yeah, it said Pez Museum, whatever. Jim and I just pulled over and went to the Pez Museum.
It was Delta,
cool.
really
It was pretty
good.
cool, actually. It's
Yeah.
pretty well organized. Yeah.
You can put your head on top of a Pez things and you can be a Pez dispenser.
Oh, yeah.
We bought Pez dispensers.
Yeah, I bought loads of Pez dispensers.
So, okay, so what is the meaning behind eBay's name?
So that was the first item
That's
ever
first
sold.
item was a Pez
Pez.
dispenser?
Pez dispensers.
What
Yeah.
is the meaning behind its name, eBay?
Electronic bay, electronic sales.
Bay?
Yeah,
Like Old Bay.
yeah, like when you used to drop things off at the bay, like shipping containers go to the bay.
Okay. I think I know what your answer is going to be, but let me ask you, who developed email and when? Scottish guy?
No, email was invented. I believe an Australian invented the internet or something. There's some Australian in here somewhere because sometimes
There's a question about Australia later, but it's not about who invented it.
sometimes we have like invention offs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where I give all the good inventions Australian gives. I can normally beat a Canadian or something, but
Yeah,
very hard.
You, me, and JJ did it. I represented America. You did Australian.
You think
JJ
an
did
Australian
Canada.
invented email?
There's something to do with the internet that Australia invented. There's one bloke involved in it somewhere.
Okay, so I'm going to say an Australian, and then when? Do you know about when email was developed?
1982.
Okay. Why is computer junk mail called spam?
No one likes spam.
Hawaiians.
Yeah, but some people like junk mail. Few people.
Put it in their eggs. Yeah. What was the first live stream of?
First live stream.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a sport. Maybe it was Elvis Hawaii. That was a satellite. That wasn't internet. I'm going to say live stream. It was a pitch of a cat playing a piano.
Okay. Why did Australia ban forwarding emails in 2001? You couldn't forward emails in 2001.
Because you can't forward regular mail that's handed to you. It's like people, you could.
That's why Australia did it?
Yeah, I think it might have been a privacy thing. So you can send someone an email, go, hey, really sorry about the other day, blah, 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 blah. And then they can forward it to 1,000 other people. That didn't happen with letters.
Okay. Last question is true or false? True or false? The first webcam was set up to monitor a coffee pot.
True.
Just sounds weird.
Sure.
Okay. Ian, how did Jim do in his knowledge of the history of the internet? 0 through 10. 10's the best.
Well, yeah, I was thinking, sometimes students take my class on the history of the internet, and I don't think they come to any of my lectures, and they try to write the exam.
Yeah.
And this was a little bit better than that, so I'm going to give it. I'll give it a 5.5.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
There's some Pez points there, man.
Yeah.
I know when you said Pez, I saw you, and I thought you were nodding your head like, oh yeah, you got Pez. I don't know. Maybe you didn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, 5. How do you do in confidence?
I'm gonna give him a 6 on confidence.
6. That's 11 total. Give you 2 and etc. Your Hotmail.
All right.
Don't you still have Hotmail?
I never had Hotmail.
Okay.
He is a hot male.
Yahoo till I die, baby.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. So what is the internet and how does it work? Jim did some dial-up stuff with his mouth. Said it's a way of sharing, connecting through a computer. Yeah. But how does it work specifically? And what? Yeah, maybe you can explain all that.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, Jim got it. The concept of it is about sharing. So the way I like to teach this is, there's like the lowercase internet. And so I look at your room here, you got some laptops, you got different devices, you've got a network. If I've got a network in my house, I've got my, gaming console, I've got a router, I've got a smart TV, I've got a laptop, that's my network. If my network talks to your network, we have an internetwork or an internet.
That's a good way of
And so
putting it.
basically the internet is like this, all the word. It's the big global network of networks. It's all the networks talking to each other. And so part of it is, the beeping and the booping, the fiber optic cables, wires, switching boxes, there's giant cables that run under the oceans, et cetera, et cetera. But the way that I really think the internet is significant and what it is it's a common protocol. It's that the world basically decided this is going to be the common language of networks. And so it really is the magic. I've got a phone. My phone might have been made in China. I can talk to your laptop that was made in South Korea. I can talk to my colleague's, computer. He's got one that was made in America, which is pretty rare. You're in South Africa. I'm in Australia. Someone's in Canada. We can all talk, and all of our devices know how to do it because everybody's agreed to use the same common set of standards. So to me, the internet is really just everybody deciding this is how we're going to communicate, and we actually managed to do it.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive when you put it that way, actually.
Yeah.
Because we don't agree on anything else, really.
No, it's incredible.
How do we not agree on PowerPoints? That does my head in.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah.
Every time I travel, I'm about to go through Asia. I have to buy another one of those fucking things.
Oh,
I have one.
I thought you meant Powerpoint, like presentations. I was like, is there a debate on this?
Got
it. Okay, gotcha.
Plugs for the walls. Yeah, I have like a universal one that I've kept in my. Yeah, it's.
I always lose them. It's a fucking pain in the neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the internet. Yeah, that is a good way of putting it. Never really thought about that because it is. I think people do take it for granted that you just send an email on your phone. You're like, yeah, that's off. Stupid email, and you're like,
the fact that you used to go down to the bank and someone used to write your amount of money in a book.
Yeah.
Someone used to say, you have this much money in pen. And then they just stamp it and you go, okay.
Spill a coffee
got
on
it right
it.
here. Hope I don't lose this piece of paper. My whole life on it.
Yeah, mental. And then like even credit cards use it to get things. Oh, fucking. So there is some benefits, I guess, to the internet.
Who invented it and when? Jim said it's some guy in Scotland. Oh, no, you used to say it by the military. There was a guy in Scotland you mentioned. Yeah.
Well, they took it from him. This
the
way,
military
my mate, his son, he goes, my son invented the internet like that, right? And he goes, and then the government stole it from him or something.
Well, who invented it and when? Yeah.
So it's sort of like all annoying historical stories. It's one of those. There is no one single person who invents the internet. But some of the main characters in its development would be going back to the 60s, and going back to people primarily in the United States who are initially thinking about how they can set up networks. So there's somebody in 1962, J.C.R. Licklider. He comes in, he heads up the Advanced Research Projects Agency, which we'll talk about in a second. It's this really cool American defense agency
bloody Licklider.
Yeah. So anyways, he starts thinking we should come up with, he calls it a galactic network. He writes this paper in 1962. He's starting to tell people, we need to think about ways to bring computers together. And then around the same time, there's someone at the RAND Corporation, which is another one of these American defense think tanky things. And he's thinking about, how are we going to communicate during a nuclear war? And so he starts thinking about the way networks can work. And he says, we've got centralized networks, which would be like you've got one hub in the middle and everybody's connected to it. Like, imagine a train network. There's one station. Every train has to go to that station. If that central station gets destroyed, the whole network collapses. And he says there's decentralized networks. That'd be like an airline hub network. There's lots of different hubs, but you kind of always end up in Chicago or Denver, or Newark, New Jersey, or Houston. Like you've got some major hubs that connect to each other in little parts, but there's still some centralization. It's decentralized, but there's still hubs. And then he comes up with the idea of a distributed network, which is like a grid. So imagine it's like a road network in a city. You can do a lot of damage to a road network in a city, and you can find a way to get around that city because there's so many intersections, there's so many connections, etc. And then finally, there's another guy in 1965, Bob Taylor. And I like this story. He's working for the government. He's got an office at the Pentagon. He looks around his office, and he has 3 computers on his desk. And each of them has their own commands. Each of them has their own community. Each of them has their own system, and they don't talk to each other at all. And he sort of has, I think, basically a light bulb moment and says, hey, if I've got 3 terminals, there's got to be some way that we can get these systems to talk to each other. And so those are the folks that come up with the sort of backbone, the nuts and bolts of the internet. And then later on, there's a group of people who come up with that standard protocol, which is something called the Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol, or TCP/IP. And that's basically the lingua franca that becomes the internet. And that's where, Jim mentioned it becoming free. Along the line, they decide we're not going to monetize this. It becomes part of an operating system in the 80s. It becomes free in 1989. You've got this free standard, lets all the computers talk to each other, and then you're off to the races. So it's a lot of people all working together throughout the sort of back half of the 20th century that make the internet possible.
And then they went to charges, the bastards.
How did Al Gore get included in the conversation? Because that's always the running thing, is that Al Gore invented the internet. People always say that, but is he involved at all?
He is like in the very crucial way of a lot of this early development process required a lot of money. Required a lot of money to academia, a lot of money to these kind of networks. And Al Gore was an influential politician in the U.S. Congress that was able to push legislation forward that made it happen.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
There's truth to it, right?
He financed the internet.
So does it all, so you could argue that we had radio, right? And radio is a way of connecting us through airwaves and the sky. And then we had Morse code, right? Morse code was, was that the original internet? Because it's sort of like a thing, sending messages through a wire, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
what's the big difference? Like, I remember I had a cousin that had a CB radio in his bedroom, and I used to think it was the coolest. And he's like, I can just talk to anyone, anywhere. I just it was like,
like a ham radio.
Yeah. And he was talking to truckers at 16 in his bedroom, like breaker. And I thought, he's got it made in the shade. He'll never be lonely.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, I think of the internet like it's sort of like the printing press revolution. I think of the printing press as this big leap forward that lets people somewhat democratize production of ideas, but you still need a printing press, right? Whereas the internet and even the early radio type, most radios outside of a handful of people who get into CB radios and ham radios, most of our radios just receive information. You turn it on, you hear the broadcast, but you're not talking back. And what I think the internet, the big change is it really, really lowers the barrier to production. Like any of us, starting by the late 90s, when internet becomes cheaper and the web becomes more accessible, anybody can create their own website. And now I can go on Twitter and I can say anything that pops into my mind, and for better or for worse, hopefully it's still around when this airs, but for better or for worse, everybody can see my inane and or profound thoughts. And that's the big change to me.
But that's the worst thing about the internet is fucking everyone bloody chips in. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Everybody has an opinion that needs to be heard.
Oh God, we're a nauseating fucking species of people.
But when you mention the radio, like I think that's a good metaphor. That it's basically, since we start doing cave paintings, people want to communicate.
Yeah.
And then really quickly we say, hey, there's got to be a better way to communicate faster than the speed of a horse.
Well,
So it's like this long history of different ways from Morse code.
I'll tell you what communication is taught us is that everyone's horny for people that don't live in their town. Right? Since the dawn of time, right, as soon as the post office started opening up, people got pen pals and they conversed with some woman over whatever and vice versa. The Queen was conversing with Prince Philip.
It's easier to romanticize somebody who's not around annoying you in
Since she was
person.
13 years old, pen pals back and forth like that. And then I remember in the late 1990s, I remember a few people in my life fell in love in chat rooms where I'm going off to Denmark to meet this person. And it was like, we weren't even Tindering up and like swapping photos at this stage.
No.
People were just in love with that person. Chat's nice.
I had like 19 online boyfriends when I was like 13 years old. I'm sure they were all really old, but they looked hot in their pictures.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
When I remember, I don't know, it must have been like 20 plus years ago. They built this giant building in Miami, downtown Miami. It has no windows. It has like all sorts of stuff on the roof and stuff too. And they said it was some sort of hub for the internet or something. Because like, there's got to be these big structures that like kind of like the same way electricity works, right? Where all the electricity goes to a transformer station and then gets distributed. Like those had to be built, right?
Yep.
So
there's big. You just never find out where they are normally because they're highly secured locations. But there's central hubs all over the place, big cities. One of the, it's kind of a downer story, but near 9/11 actually, near the World Trade Center, there was one of those big centers that went offline. And I know in my own teaching, we've used that as an example of like, how does the internet react when you do have one of these massive switching nodes gets taken offline? And it was like the big impact for the internet when that goes down in Lower Manhattan is like people in Italy and people in Africa are seeing degradations in their service just because of the network being all connected together.
That is terrible. I'm worried after 9/11 the Italians weren't sending emails fast enough.
That's why Milan wasn't selling fast enough.
Yeah. Just trying to sell tickets to Milan.
Is there a computer hacker that can shut the internet down, rendering all of our bank accounts empty, rendering all of our all of our online things gone? Is there a world where that could happen?
I'm not a cybersecurity expert, but I would say no. But I think that's the sort of thing that keeps everybody awake at night in every organization around the world is making sure that networks are secure.
Could I just go into one of these facilities with an axe and fuck things up?
No.
Well, I won't do it then.
Probably get shot.
But I like the magic of the internet is because it's this decentralized network that it's not vulnerable. It's not like an old network, like say you're on a university campus, you might have a central hub where if you knock that out, the whole internet might go down on the campus. It really is decentralized. So if you came in and you destroyed one of a major center in your city, the rest of the internet would adapt and traffic would flow around it. It would continue to work. It's the resiliency that really makes it special.
Why didn't the Soviet Union invent the internet? Jim said they were giving Drago steroids. I don't know if that was right.
Yeah. And I like this. So there's a great book by this historian Ben Peters on how not to network a nation. And to me, it's like the irony, right, of the United States primarily develops the internet. But it doesn't do so because of the miracles of the free market capitalist economy competition. It does so because it has like massive state-supported defense and research establishment. Like it really is the epitome of big government creates the internet in the United States. And so the flip side is you'd look at the Soviet Union and you'd say, hey, if the US can develop the internet through the power of big government, surely the Soviet Union with the giant power of big government could have done it. And the story there is really interesting. So they do try to create an internet. They want to coordinate their economy because it's all about how many tractors should you build here, how much toilet paper will we need here. They've got ledgers. They're doing their whole economy, and basically because of trust issues, nobody wants to network their computers together because no one wants people to see how much information they have. No one wants to know how many tractors you actually could make, how many rolls of toilet paper you could actually produce. Because you don't want your managers to know that. You want to set your targets lower so that you're not going to end up, bad things happen in the Soviet Union. So it's one of these, just a neat story of like the US, for all its vaunted power of this big, massive free market capitalist economy, develops the internet through the power of big government. And the Soviet Union, which is big government, basically can't do it because all the factories are competing. So it's this sort of ironic story of why the internet happened here.
Is there anywhere on Earth that still doesn't have the internet?
No, I'm pretty sure you could go to any corner of the earth and find there are places that are internet deserts, right? There's places where remote communities where your internet's not fast enough, you can't access school, you can't do remote work, but the internet is pretty much everywhere.
But what about like North Korea? Yeah. So North Korea is just limited internet. They have their internal internet, do they?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm not an expert on North Korean internet. I'm sure they have their own internal network of a sorts and with very limited connections to the rest of the world.
Yeah, because I read an article in Wired magazine about Cuba, and they have it. Well, this was 4 years ago, so maybe it's there, but they had an internet, but it was only within Cuba. And they had all these basically wires running around the whole country it was like almost an illegal internet. They had hotspots where you could get it. It was really crappy.
Yeah.
But they had these wires that would run all over the country, and they'd take like literal hard drives and download like all the stuff that they got illegally from people coming to Cuba. They download like Netflix, like they had their own versions of Facebook and stuff, and they like still created an internet in Cuba, but it was only within Cuba. But it still was an internet, so it was interesting. It's in Wired magazine. I don't know if that's what they're still doing there, but yeah. So
yeah, and sometimes it's one thing that might be cool to look at is like submarine cable maps. You can see where all the it's like spaghetti connecting the world. And some of those islands, only have one connection. And
how do we run wires underneath the ocean? How do we do that?
I'm not an expert on that, but I would imagine I know a little bit about the first transatlantic cables. You take boats and you sink cables and you have all sorts of monitoring software. It's pretty impressive
there's not
stuff.
like divers underneath there.
No, it's off a ship. But you're saying some islands only have like one cable connected?
Plug.
Yeah, they'll have one cable, and then that's a vulnerable. We've got satellites, but satellites really aren't going to take the backbone of internet traffic.
I thought satellites did all the heavy lifting.
Yeah. It's underwater cables, I guess.
Underwater cables.
I just looked them up because I was curious. They're big.
Yeah. They're big.
I mean, obviously they'd have to be.
They're like this.
Like this.
Oh, that's not that big. Yeah. I was saying way bigger, Jack.
I assume that as well, but no, they're like. I mean, they're not your average plug, obviously.
They're like a cantaloupe.
Yeah, about.
Or a rock melon for you Australians listening.
What is ARPANET system?
So ARPANET, and probably I know the next question was why was ARPA founded? So perhaps I should weave the two together if that works. So ARPA. The story of ARPA itself is cool. So it's this agency called the Advanced Research Projects Agency, and it gets set up in 1958. And it gets set up because in October 1957, the Soviet Union launches Sputnik. And they launch the first satellite into space, and it terrifies the United States. At first, they're not worried because they say, we've got a rocket coming. It's not going to be a big deal. Basically, 2 months after Sputnik launches, the first American big rocket they're attempting blows up on the pad. And suddenly everybody goes, we have a real problem. We're going to fall behind in the space race. We need a new organization. And so in February 1958, they set up this agency called the Advanced Research Projects Agency, or ARPA. And what ARPA is cool about is that it's basically this R&D, research and development enterprise that is set up to have minimal bureaucracy, So you can just kind of pitch an idea and run with it. Rapid response. You can go to your boss and say, I want to fund something. You get funding like that day. And they have visions of the future. So they do like mad scientist work. Like they've got ideas where they're going to, they want to set up something like they want to stop incoming nuclear weapons. They have this mad scheme of like launching nuclear weapons into the sky to create a force field that's going to knock down other nuclear weapons. Like it's this apocalyptic vision of shooting nukes into the air and blowing them up so other nukes can come down. They come up with spaceship ideas where spaceships are going to drop nuclear weapons and ride that explosion shockwave to Mars. They just basically start thinking of these big ideas. And then the Cuban Missile Crisis comes along in 1962, and people realize, oh my God, like this is complicated. We're living in a world of mutually assured destruction. If the Soviets or the Americans make a wrong step, we could end up destroying the world. And so they realize that in the course of the Cuban Missile Crisis that we have this really complex, we have a high stakes in operation. There's too much information. Nobody has enough information. And they say, we need to have some way to communicate better in a crisis. And so that kind of leads into the overall context of setting up the ARPANET, which is the ARPANET, the network that they're coming up to get. And they basically are working on several projects. They're working on projects that they can share computers. How can you take one big computer and let lots of people use it at the same time? They work on something called packet switching. I won't go into the details, but it's basically how can you send messages through lots of computers without it getting broken along the way. And the solution is to take a big message, chop it into, say, 100 parts, send those 100 parts, and then reassemble it at the end. It turns out to be much easier to send information. And then crucially, as I talked about at the start, the common communications protocol, like some way that all computers can share a common language when they're networking with each other. And so that leads, in 1969, the ARPANET comes online. You can Google a funny map, first map of the internet, because the first ARPANET is really just 4 sites. It's at Stanford Research, UC Santa Barbara, UCLA, and Utah. Those 4 networks, those 4 sites, they form their first network, and then it kind of grows from there. But if you look at the first map of the internet, it's the ARPANET, 1969. 4 things on the internet, really
and
Oh,
that's the beginning of the internet, basically.
Basically, yeah. That's the moment where you got these 4 computers. They're talking to each other. They're communicating, and really quickly it grows from there to start spreading across the entirety of the United States.
That's a long time, from 1969.
Yeah. And then I don't know the answers to any of these either, but what is a URL? What does it stand for? I know it's the URL is the thing, right?
The address.
Yeah.
Address, but I don't know what it stands for.
Yeah, so a URL is a uniform resource locator, which basically is like, of course. I wouldn't have expected you to get that. That would be a bonus point.
Locator. But people say it every day almost, or you refer to it, the URL or the. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and basically it's
a PDF.
I know what it is.
They're the only ones I can open up PDFs. I always go to Jack. I go, you got to change this. It's a doc something. Make it a PDF for me.
I actually don't know what a PDF is. I know what a PDF is, but I don't know what it stands for.
You don't know what a PDF is.
What does PDF stand for?
Portable document format.
Well,
there you go. Portable document format.
That makes sense.
But what a URL is cool. So it tells you exactly where something is on the internet.
What's a YMCA?
It's a fun song.
Yeah, better than ABBA. So that whole thing. So you joked with the www. So when you've got something like http://www.website.com/file.pdf, that looks like a bunch of gibberish, but it's actually saying we're going to use the hypertext transfer protocol. It's on the World Wide Web. We're going to go to this computer, which is example.com, and we're going to get this file, test.pdf. And it's basically just the coordinates, like you're on a map or like you're looking at an old phone book. It's the coordinate of that exact file sitting on that exact computer. And it could be anywhere in the world. And that's that common standard. That's so cool.
And then how does the World Wide Web differ from the internet? I thought it was the same thing.
Yeah, so that's a common misconception.
Idiot first.
Yeah. I know, I'm a loser.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you should kick yourself for not knowing that. And in some ways that's because the web is so successful that for most of it, it's synonymous with the internet. We use the web, we use the internet, they kind of seem part and parcel. But the best way to think about it is that the web runs on the internet alongside your email, alongside file transfer, alongside other things. And so the internet is lots of things, and the web is just one sort of platform or program that runs on the internet.
Oh, so like websites are on the web, but your email's on the internet.
That's right.
Okay. And like, so iMessages are on the internet, but they're not on the web.
That's correct. Yeah, it's all these different protocols and all sorts of things.
Yeah. Why you
Just get to the Pez question.
You're going to be disappointed with that one.
And who? I don't know. How do you get 5 points? And so, and then who invented the World Wide Web? Guy in Scotland's son. Is it a guy in Scotland?
Why would he lie to me?
You're getting closer. You're getting closer. So not a Scotsman, but an Englishman.
We're almost Australia.
Yeah, sort of the Commonwealth.
I think I guessed Alan Turing, but I reckon that's right.
We'll see.
Yeah. So it's actually, in this case, we know there's one person who invents the World Wide Web, Sir Tim Berners-Lee. So he wasn't a sir then. He becomes a sir because he invents the World Wide Web. And basically, Tim Berners-Lee is a researcher at CERN, which is the European Organization for Nuclear Research. And, if CERN is this too much information kind of place. It's on the border between Switzerland and France. It has the Large Hadron Collider, which is one of these just monumental billions and billions and billions of dollars of smashing particles into each other and see what happens. And what happens at CERN is that it's confusing. You've got researchers from all over the world. They come there for 6 months. They come there for a year. They've got databases. They've got information. And it's really, really confusing. And so Berners-Lee is there. He says, there's got to be a better way to organize all of this activity and all of this science. And as early as 1980, he starts developing these programs, this program that's based on the idea of hypertext. And so hypertext is this idea, it's been around since 1945, actually. And it's this idea that instead of reading information linearly, we should connect words and ideas and documents to each other, throughout. So it's like when you're on Wikipedia, you can start clicking links, and then suddenly, 15 clicks later, you're on some Wikipedia page on some topic you never even knew existed because you're just following connections between information. So Berners-Lee thinks, hypertext might be a way to organize information. He works on it. And then actually in 1989, he writes a proposal. This is why academics like the history of the internet, because it's proposals and stuff like that. And he writes a proposal called Information Management. He says, I need money. I've got this idea to connect information. In this document, he lays out the basic infrastructure of what the World Wide Web will look like. His boss famously sees it and says, he writes vague but exciting, tepidly funds Tim Berners-Lee. And then within a year, there's this explosion of work, and Tim Berners-Lee develops the URL, develops hypertext transfer protocol, develops hypertext markup language, or HTML, which is how we still design all of our websites today, launches the first web browser, and then suddenly the web is off to the races. So it really is like 1989, 1990, there's this moment where Sir Tim Berners-Lee develops this.
And what did he call the first browser?
Well, it wasn't very original. The first browser was called World Wide Web.
It wasn't Explorer.
I had an internship with like a seagrass when I was getting my biology degree, and it was a seagrass internship, counting seagrass and stuff. And they asked me if I could make a website. When I was doing the interview for it, they were trying to choose who could get the internship. And they said, do you have any experience building websites? And I just really need the internship. And I said, yeah, 0 experience doing that. And they go, yeah, we need to build this website for our seagrass research. I said, yeah. So there was like a week where they sat me in front of a computer and they go, here you go. This is what we need. And they gave us all this stuff. And I knew like how to do 2 things. All I did was like put a picture of seagrass up there and put like seagrass. And I was like, yeah, I haven't gotten very far in this because my coding and there's something wrong with this computer or whatever. And then they're on to me.
Now you could get away with that because you could just Google how to do it.
I'll
but
go to
back
Wix.
then-
I'll go to Wix and make it. They didn't have Wix back then. Yeah, I lied. Thanks, guys. Thanks for giving me the job.
Yeah, so thanks to Sir Tim Berners-Lee, you could get that job. That's good.
Yeah, I lied.
All right. What was the first thing put on the internet?
Yeah, what was the first image uploaded to the web, and what was it of? Was it Alan Turing?
It was not Alan Turing.
Would have been a good one though.
Unfortunately,
that would have been a nice nod.
yeah.
He stopped Hitler from winning. Just saying.
So in keeping with the origins of the World Wide Web, it's a pretty ridiculous picture. It's a picture of a parody rock group at the European Organization for Nuclear Research, Les Horribles Cernettes, and it's uploaded in 1992. So it's sort of just
What?
a parody
That's
rock
what these
group of a
people
bunch
chose?
of research scientists.
That's what they like this. They'd had no foresight to be like, all right, guys, this is gonna be very important.
Yeah, you couldn't put I'm not religious, but a picture of Jesus.
Yeah, even a cat hanging from like a branch, like hang in there or something, like anything. Wow.
No, there's no one small step for man, one large. It's just a picture of a parody rock group from the research group.
Now, the first page on the World Wide Web was released in 1991. This is going to be good for sure. Was it M&Ms.com?
Again, I don't think they realized what they were doing when they made their first website. So the first website was a website about the World Wide Web. It goes live in December 1990.
You are on the World Wide Web.
Welcome.
Whoa. Okay.
And it basically, like, the trick is you set up this network and you need other people to build websites. So it does make sense that the first website is going to be, hey, welcome to the web. Here's how you can join the web too. And it's got instructions. Hey, this is how you can set up your server.
And the second site was porn.
Probably.
They wouldn't have taken them long.
Yeah. About the World Wide Web. I'm bored. Yeah. Sorry, Ian, you were saying something?
No.
Okay.
I just
Okay. Now here we go, Jim. I don't know if you're right. What was the first ever item sold on eBay? Was it Pez dispensers?
No. So here I'm sad. I'm sad.
I went to the bloody factory.
So the first ever item. So I'll talk about the first item, then I'll talk a bit about Pez. So the first ever item sold on eBay is actually a broken laser pointer. It's not as good as a Pez
The
dispenser.
beginning of the internet web sucks. Surprised it lasted. Really.
It says here eBay grew from one man's idea. I thought it was a woman. eBay started in 1995 and is an idea for collectors to buy and sell Pez dispensers.
Yeah,
Founder Pierre Omidyar began eBay as a favor to his girlfriend.
But the first thing that was sold on it, broken laser pointer.
Why?
Well, Ian's telling
Yeah,
us.
All right, you tell us.
And then I'll so this it's a Canadian. So there's your Canadian content for the
Ooh,
thing.
I got
Canadian.
this laser pointer that's really stuck in my house up. It used to entertain the cat for a while, but now even he's bored. I have to get rid of the clutter.
So it's a Canadian, and again, it's not the best story. He didn't want to buy a new laser pointer for $30. He saw that there was a broken one on sale for $15, said, I could fix that. He bought it. And then apparently 20 years later, so in 2015, he was still using it. So that was good.
Oh, wow.
But the Pez dispenser story is annoying because that was the story of eBay. And basically, I think that eBay wanted to have a really good origin story that wasn't the first thing that we sold was a broken laser pointer. They wanted a story, and so much of even what I've been telling you today, right, is like people writing research proposals in labs developing this thing. And I think eBay, they said, let's have a really good story. The Pez dispenser story is amazing, where his fiance was collecting these things, wanted to trade Pez, so I created this platform. And I'm not an expert on the history of eBay, but I'm pretty sure it's convincingly shown that it was a fake story, that it was really a marketing story.
So did Omidyar invent it though? Because they say he's now worth $11 billion. So he must have had something to do with it.
Oh yeah. He invented eBay. He's the founder of eBay, but the Pez story was not a true story.
What was he just like? So he made the site and then nothing is selling. Then one bloke puts up the laser pointer?
Yeah.
What does eBay mean? What's the name?
Well, this is actually, I was joking when I saw this question because this is the perfect example of why history is never as fun as you think it's going to be. So Pierre Omidyar had a company called the Echo Bay Technology Group. He wanted to call it echobay.com. Somebody else had taken it, so he called it eBay. And that is a perfect example of I wish I had a fun answer for you.
Yeah.
History is
eBay
boring.
sounds better than Echo Bay, though.
Yeah, he goes, eBay, or as it was first known, Electronic Bay, began on Labor Day 1995. It was quite rudimentary by today's standards, with no guarantees, no fees, no third-party interactions, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. There's a lot of...
This says Echo Bay here.
It all says it. It all
Were you
says...
on Wikipedia?
It's all Pez, baby.
Who developed email? Was it an Australian in 1982?
It was not. But you know what? There probably was.
Why
an
is that so
Australian-
humorous to you?
I'm a Canadian.
The original internet was that fucking thing on the end of a bit of string that Crocodile Dundee swung around his head on top of the hill to make the Aboriginal fellas know what was going on. That was the original. That was the original internet.
Possibly.
I think the development of email is a bit of a trick question. There probably was an Australian somewhere who did it because, as soon as people network computers together, people figure out how to leave files for each other, right? So people leave files for each other. So you log into the computer, you leave your file, a message to the next user, they read it. That's kind of how email begins to grow. But probably the main milestone in the development of email is the ARPANET. In 1971, there's a guy called Ray Tomlinson, and he develops a program called American, but yeah, Send Message. He invents it in 1971, and the big thing that's new about that is that's where we got the @ sign. So the @ sign, he says, let's put user first, then you have the @ sign, then you have the name of the computer.
I've never
And that's
understood the @ sign. Why are they trying to shorten AT? Because you have to go control above the 2. It's much more difficult than writing @
Well, for this purpose, it's a symbol. You need it to separate it. But yeah.
Yeah, I just write @
Your emails aren't
I don't conform to...
Your emails aren't getting through, probably.
By the way, I'm on eBay Inc. and on the Our History tab, it says a story is circulated that Pierre created eBay to help his wife collect Pez candy dispensers, but later it's revealed that the story was a fabricated one. So straight from eBay.
Yeah, but that's big eBay. trying to
fool us.
squish it. So you go to the fucking Pez Museum, they have a different story to tell.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Still go to the Pez Museum. Still good times. Why is computer junk mail called spam? Is it because no one likes spam?
You know what? I'd give you part marks for that one. In short, it's because nerds are the first users of a lot of these networks. And what do nerds like?
Oh,
They like
spam.
And why do they like spam?
Because nerds are unhealthy people who can't cook.
It's close. So nerds really like Monty Python.
Oh,
there's a
Spam-a-lot,
yeah.
Spam-a-lot. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So there's a Monty Python sketch. There's a spam restaurant and customers come in and everything is spam. And they keep saying spam over and over again and it's annoying. But if you like Monty Python, I guess it's funny. And so if you're a nerd and you're a Monty Python fan and you want to annoy your other computer users, you might write a script that suddenly their computer begins filling up spam, and you're all laughing because you're putting the word spam around. So that's basically where the nomenclature for spam email comes from, is people who had originally annoyed each other with messages that said spam just became sort of the way that you'd also describe any message that came in.
I wonder whether Cleese knows. Next time I see John, I'm gonna
Yeah, you gotta let him
I'm gonna tell him.
Yeah, you invented spam. Thanks.
Yeah.
And I do like the first spam email, I think arguably is sent in 1978. It's like a computer salesman who uses the ARPANET to tell people to come to his product demo. And I like this story because he sends spam, but of course it's the ARPANET in 1978. So like an army major comes on the network and yells at him like, "Get off the network. Don't send junk mail."
He replied all.
I'm going to say that to John. I'm going to go, John, do you know why we have spam in the on your emails? And he'll go, no. I'll go, because nerds like you.
What was the first live stream of? Was it a picture of a cat playing a piano?
No. Again, history is a little bit boring and history is a little bit annoying. So probably the first live stream in 1993, somebody streams a movie over the internet. Very clunky. I want to say like 2 or 3 frames a second. Like it's a very slow, janky video and they do it. And then the big breakthrough in streaming.
What movie?
Oh, I'd have to Google it. It's like some long title. It's a movie you've never heard of. It's a movie, science fiction movie developed for this purpose.
Right.
And then in 1995, I think the Seattle Mariners and a New York Yankees game gets streamed through Real Player, which is sort of an icon of the early.
So that was like the first real legit.
First,
okay.
Sports. big commercial breakthrough of we could make money on this.
Yeah. Why did Australia ban forwarding emails in 2001? And was it a privacy thing? That's what Jim thinks.
Kind of. So in some ways, this is a false flag. There was a media slap in 2001 in Australia, where there was a fear that if you forwarded emails, you would fall afoul of copyright law. And so there was this big, it was a media sensation, kind of went viral in 2001, saying Australia has just banned forwarding emails. And then I think their attorney general clarified that really, if you were forwarding an email that was an original literary work, so if these were emails that were so profound and were like your novels and your intellectual property, if you forwarded that, you might be infringing their intellectual property. You might fall afoul of copyright. But of course, everybody continues to forward emails, and most of the stuff we forward on the internet is not at the level of an original literary work. So if you're in Australia, you can still forward emails and you don't have to worry about getting arrested.
And then was it true that the first webcam was set up to monitor a coffee pot?
Yes. Yeah, basically it was a group of people. They said whenever we got up and left our desk to go get coffee and saw it was empty, we were sad. And so they set up a webcam and took a picture of this coffee pot, and you could sit at your desk and time your trip to the coffee room accordingly.
All the fun we had.
And then it was porn. Everything devolved to porn eventually. All right. Now is a part of our show called Dinner Party Facts. We ask our expert to give us some interesting or obscure fact that our listeners can use to impress people about this subject. What do you got for us?
So my favorite dinner party fact, historians, we don't get invited to many dinner parties, is, people, and maybe I'm dating myself. So there's a meme, remember Series of Tubes? There was the late American Senator Ted Stevens, and he said, the internet is a series of tubes. And everybody made fun of him and said, look at the old man. He doesn't understand the internet. He said it's a series of tubes. What a joke. And so my dinner party fact is saying, yeah, he was right. The internet really is a series of tubes. Tubes that run under oceans, tubes that run underneath our parking lots, tubes that connect our buildings. That it's a useful reminder that, well, it seems like the internet is just out there. It's the ether. It lives in the air. Like the internet really is there. There's computers, there's cables,
Just
there's power
tin cans
sources.
and string.
And the tin can and string metaphor is better than the cloud. Like at least a tin can and a string actually exists.
I'll never do a podcast in the cloud. Bloody cloud's useless fucking thing. I decloud as soon as I bloody stupid cloud.
Decloud it.
No one understands it. No one knows what's going on. Cloud's a pain in the neck.
How do you really feel?
Dr. Ian Milligan, thank you for being here. You can find him at his website, it's ianmilligan.ca. That's his website, and he tweets once in a while at ianmilligan1. Check out his book. It's called The History in the Age of Abundance, How the Web is Transforming Historical Research. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Dr. Ian. If you're ever at a party and someone comes up to you and goes, the internet's just a bunch of tubes, go, I don't know about that, and walk away. Good night, Australia.